Hello, everybody. This is Jake, and I've chosen to do my final report on organic versus conventional farming and to attempt to answer the question, is organic farming more sustainable than conventional farming? First, we need to answer the question, what is organic farming? Certified organic is a set of regulations imposed by the USDA that basically does not allow certain treatments to be applied to food and produce. Um, the main the main regulations being you cannot use synthetic pesticides and fertilizers, and they prohibit the use of GMOs. So no hybrid seeds or GMO seeds or um, um, artificially created uh, enzymes or hormones treated in the meat or dairy products. Um, the intent of the regulations is to improve soil quality, to preserve wetlands, and is the goal of organic farming is to achieve a more sustainable farming practice. Some of the benefits of organic farming, of imposing these regulations, is that the fertilizer comes from natural sources. So this allows, if a farm has livestock as well as produce, they can recycle the waste from the livestock, i.e., manure, and turn it into fertilizer for their other um, crops. And due to um, the restriction of synthetic pesticides and the regulation of pesticides in organic farming, organic foods tend to have less residual pesticides when they're on the shelf. Although, as a side note, conventional farming still falls within the safety regulations of pesticide use. There has been shown to be improved biodiversity found on organic farms. This could also be a result of um, the pesticide control, and it also is due to the fact that um, organic farms tend to plant seasonal crops and they rotate their crops with the seasons, um, giving them obviously more species of plants on their farm at any given time. Um, Organic farms have also have lower energy use, um, and this is actually a bit of a could be a bit of a skewed statistic, which we will touch on later. But the fact stands that organic farms tend to have lower energy use. One of the biggest impacts of farming in general is the leaching of the nutrients found in fertilizers into the water supply. Um, Synthetic fertilizers are designed to be absorbed much more quickly than natural fertilizers. Um, they are designed to be more efficient in that way, but due to that, they are also absorbed by groundwater supplies um, much more quickly than natural fertilizers. So nitrogen and phosphorus leach into water supplies, and this is known as nutrient pollution. Nutrient pollution into surface and groundwater um, causes excess algae growth, and the algae kind of suffocates all other life in that body of water. This is a fairly big problem right now, and a lot of research is being done to um, come up with methods of reducing nutrient pollution. Now, organic farms by area use a lot less um, fertilizer. However, when comparing by product yields, organic farms tend to have a higher nitrogen contamination. And this is due to the yield per area of organic farms being much less than conventional farms. So that kind of it begs the question, are there other negatives associated with organic farming? And really the largest negative associated with organic farming is the lower land use efficiency. Organic farming uses 80%, 84% more land than conventional farming. And the main cause is the insufficient availability of nutrients. Synthetic fertilizers are much, much more efficient than natural fertilizers, and synthetic fertilizers and synthetic pesticides are much, much easier to distribute over a large area than manure or compost. You can't load up a biplane with manure and drop it evenly over, multiple acres of land. Um, and then a misconception that I put here on the negatives associated with organic slide is that it's a misconception that organic produce and food is more nutritious, and that is not true. Although some studies have shown that organic milk and chicken contain higher omega-3 fatty acid levels, which are one of the good fats to eat. So there are exceptions, but they tend to be equally nutritious as conventional farming, even though they are more expensive, which is maybe where the misconception comes from. So how can we improve organic production? Since the goal of organic production is to improve sustainability, how can we improve the current regulations to allow organic production to be even more sustainable? The largest challenge there is increasing the yield. The land use statistic is pretty staggering when compared to conventional farming. And a lot of research is currently being done to come up with solutions to this issue. And none have been conclusive, or none can be effectively implemented on a large scale as of now. One of the other proven benefits is to use ground cover, which shows a reduction in nutrient leaching. The ground cover, any excess nutrients that would leach into the water supply kind of get absorbed by the ground crop. And then also organic farms, one huge improvement would be to implement kind of a waste management and recycling program in organic farms, because everything, all the inputs into organic crops is natural sources. The waste from organic farms, the compost, tends to be very clean and a perfect opportunity for anaerobic digestion, which produces biogas, which can be turned back into energy to run the farm. And the other byproduct of anaerobic digestion is fertilizer. So it composts, and the outgassing of that compost process can be turned into fuel, and then the compost itself can be turned back into fertilizer, which would be a huge benefit if that was implemented on a large scale, and it would likely cut the costs of organic produce, allowing it to be more readily accessible. So then the question is, should we buy organic? And the answer to that is it's complicated. Organic food is slightly better for the environment. The benefits do edge out the negatives as of now, although it is a scary thought to think that if organic farming was implemented everywhere, it would not be sustainable due to the amount of leaching into the water supply from even natural fertilizer sources. And also, if organic farming was used exclusively in the country, the land use is too inefficient and the cost would just be too high to implement it everywhere. Now there is a independent organization that produces a list called the Dirty Dozen, um, and these are supposedly the um, highest in pesticide and residual pesticides on the shelf, and they would say that those are probably the foods you should absolutely buy organic. And they also have a list called the Clean 15, which are the lowest residual pesticides from conventional farming, which um, means that even in conventional farming there is less pesticides used on them, and they tend to be cleaner for the environment, even with um, no organic regulations governing their farming practices. Now, alternatives to buying organic from your grocery store, and I would say that these are my recommendations, is number one, grow your own produce. If you control what you're putting into the environment, obviously you can grow your own produce in a very sustainable manner. You know exactly what is going into it, um, and you are controlling every aspect of it. There's no transportation costs associated. There's no harmful pesticides that you would be putting in there. Um, that would obviously be the best solution. And if you can't do that, buy as local as possible. Local produce doesn't have to be transported anywhere, and you can visit local farms and develop a relationship and see what practices they use on their farms. And hopefully there is a very sustainable farm in, within 60 miles of your location. That would be um, an alternative to buying organic from the grocery store. Here's some of the sources I used to come up with the information. The article was a meta-analysis of a lot of studies, and it showed comparing a lot of different studies' data. Also, the Harvard article was on nutrition was interesting, and then down there is the link to the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15 if anyone is interested in looking into that further. Thank you.